Everybody, how are you? Happy Monday, May 4th. I hope everyone had a great weekend. Man, that weather was gorgeous. So hopefully you got outside. Unfortunately, I went fishing for like 6 hours on Saturday and forgot to wear sunscreen. I packed it, it was in my bag, and then I forgot to put it on. And I got burnt. My shoulders are really burnt. Like, looks like the same color as my tank top. Oy, oy, oy. So, I should have worn some sunscreen. But hope you guys had a great weekend. Welcome back to the next week of distance learning. I think this is now week 5. And we have 4 more weeks to go. Like, you guys got this, okay? So this week is going to be on all things polygons, okay? So polygons, today we're going to talk about triangles. Tomorrow I'm going to talk about different types of polygons. Wednesday is going to be quadrilaterals. And Thursday's quadrilaterals, and then Friday is a short little mini quiz, okay? So I'm going to talk to you specifically about triangles today. There are 6 different ways to classify triangles, okay? You need to know all 6. There's a worksheet on them today, and then they're also on the quiz. They're super easy. If you just listen to this video, I will give you lots of ways to remember, okay? So please pay attention. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about 3 ways to classify triangles based on their angles, okay? So back in elementary school, you guys learned angles. You learned acute angles, you learned obtuse angles, you learned right angles, okay? And we talked a little bit about this during the year. So we need to recall all that information now, okay? So every time I look at a triangle, any triangle, I can classify it as acute, I can classify it as obtuse, or I can classify it as right. So it can be an acute triangle, an obtuse triangle, or a right triangle, okay? So if it's an acute triangle, that means that all 3 of its angles are acute angles, okay? So 3 angles, and they're all little, they're cute. Remember, this word right here has cute in it, and most things that we say are cute are things that are little, like puppies, they're little and they're cute. Babies, they're little and they're cute. So acute angles are little, okay? So when I say little, I mean that they are less than 90 degrees. So anything less than 90 degrees means it's an acute angle. So if a triangle has 3 angles less than 90 degrees, then it's an acute triangle, okay? The second one up there is obtuse. So obtuse means big, okay? So an obtuse triangle has to be over 90 degrees. It has to have an angle, over 90 degrees, okay? So we go like this, and we have this big fat triangle right here. See this guy right here, how big he is? Okay, he's bigger than 90 degrees, so he's an obtuse angle. So if we have an obtuse angle in there, that means we have an obtuse triangle. And you only need 1 obtuse angle to make it an obtuse triangle, okay? So when you hear that word obtuse, you're thinking, oh, that's a big angle, okay? Sometimes we say the word obese, and that means that you are big. Okay, so obese also starts with that OB, so obese, obtuse, all right? So over 90 degrees, okay? So this would be an obtuse triangle. Then you guys are really good at right triangles. We know that right triangles, right angles are 90 degrees exactly. So that would have to be a triangle that looked like this. And a lot of times they put a little box like that. And that box means, hey, this is 90 degrees. Okay, they don't have to put the box there. So if they put the box alone, that means 90 degrees. They might write 90 degrees, or they could just draw the picture, and you would know that that was a 90-degree angle. If it has a 90-degree angle, that means it's a right triangle, okay? So every time you have a triangle, you can pick one of these. Like, it has to be one of those. Any triangle that you see has to be either an acute triangle, an obtuse triangle, or a right triangle, okay? Now, besides its angles, you can also classify a triangle by its sides, okay? So these are some fancy math vocabulary words. I'm going to start with the easiest one, and I'm going to do it one at a time. This is where it's super important that you're listening, okay? So one of the triangles is called an equilateral triangle, okay? And an equilateral triangle, okay, the word says it itself, equal. All of the sides are equal. So I would have something like this, and I'm not a computer, so it's not perfect, but it would say like 5 inches, 5 inches, and 5 inches. If all of the sides are equal, it's an equilateral triangle. It's that simple, okay? Sometimes they don't have to put numbers on it. Sometimes they can go like this and go like this and put little like tick marks on it. If they each have one tick mark, that means all of the sides are the same. If one of them has 2, then that means he's not the same size. But if they all have the same number of tick marks, then you're okay, all right? If they all have 2, then that means they're all the same as well. So if the sides all measure the same length, it's an equilateral triangle, okay? Equilateral triangle, all right? So that's one of them. The next one, sometimes I spell it wrong, so I'll try not to, is isosceles. So an isosceles triangle, I'm going to draw one. I'm going to make it look like, oh, that's not very good, okay? Like this, okay? And if I have 1 tick mark, 1 tick mark, and 2 tick marks, that means that these 2 sides are the same and 1 is not. So isosceles means 2 sides are equal. So that's my hint. That's why I keep saying it like that. I have 2 eyes. 2 eyes, 2 sides the same. That's how I remember it. So when I say the word isosceles, I think I have 2 eyes. So it's 2 sides the same. So this might say 10, and this might say 10, and this might say 4, okay, centimeters, whatever. But 2 of the sides are the same, is an isosceles triangle. So not only is this an isosceles triangle, it's also an acute triangle because look, all of his angles are little. So like I said, I can classify it both ways, isosceles or acute, okay? And the third one is called scalene, okay? So a scalene triangle could be something like this, and I could put 1 tick mark, 2 tick marks, and 3 tick marks. That means none of the sides are the same. So he could be 5, he could be 7, he could be 11 inches, okay? So scalene, none of them match up, okay? So all sides are different. So I don't really have a fun way to remember that. I have some dorky ways to remember that. So like I think about the word scale, and if I picked up 3 different things, or I picked 3 of you and put you all on a scale, I'm going to get 3 different numbers, okay? You know, when you weigh something, it's very hard to get things that weigh exactly the same amount, okay? So when I think about the scale, I think about all of the different weights, okay? I know that's kind of dorky. Sometimes I think about fish have scales and snakes have scales, and when you see a snake or a fish, they kind of swim all over the place or slither all over the place. So the numbers, they're all over the place. None of them match up. Okay, so those are just some ways that I remember it. But I'm going to show you one other way that I remember it. So not only is he scalene, but he's also obtuse, okay? Because he has a fat angle right there, okay? So the other way that I remember these, and usually all my classes like this way best, so hopefully you're still watching, okay? If I have equilateral, okay, I'm just going to write the first letter, equilateral. I have isosceles, and I have scalene, okay? First letter, capital letters. Look how interesting this is. If I look at the letter E, look, 1, 2, 3. 3 lines, and they're all the same. So this is 3 sides equal. If I look at the I, look, there's 1, 2. 2 sides the same. And if I look at this guy, he's all over the place, so he is none. No sides the same. Okay, so that's just another way that you can remember it. And if we were in the classroom, this is exactly what I would be doing. I would be writing all this stuff up here and talking to you all about it. And so I just want to make sure that these are things that when I was 10, this is how I remembered it. And now I'm 40, and I can still remember it because I remember these little tricks. Okay, so You have acute, which are little angles, obtuse, which are fat angles, and right, which is 90 degrees. You have equilateral, which is all three sides the same, isosceles, two sides the same, and scalene, no sides the same. So anytime you have any triangle, you can, again, label it two ways. So if I went like this, okay, and I said 10, 7, and 14 inches, and I went like this, we know that it is a right triangle, and all of the sides are different, so we know that it is also scalene, okay? So when you do your worksheet today, I have it broken down into a top and a bottom, and the top asks you to classify the triangle as either being acute, obtuse, or right. So that's all you have to focus on is the angles. And then the bottom 6 questions asks you to classify the triangles by equilateral, scalene, or isosceles. So you're going to be looking at the sides. There's only 12 questions, and I did 2 of them as examples. So there's really only 10 questions today. You're going to submit that worksheet. And then on the quiz on Friday, you're going to have to answer questions about those things. So make sure that you are following them, okay? I'm going to eventually tell you another story about triangles, but I don't want to do it today. Maybe I'll do it tomorrow because I'm already at 11 and a half minutes. So I apologize for that, but you've watched this video, so now you just have a quick little worksheet to do, submit it, and you guys are in good shape, and that's your work for the day, okay? And then just make sure you go back and check your score and see if you got them all right, okay? All right, guys, that's it for today. Bye. It won't let me